Stop what you're doing right now and listen carefully, because what I'm about to share with you could literally add years to your life or save the life of someone you love. And I say that not to be dramatic, but because right now, at this very moment, millions of seniors over the age of 65 are taking medications that their own doctor's parents would never take. Medications that are statistically shown to increase fall risk, cognitive decline, and even sudden cardiac events in older adults. This isn't conspiracy. This is published medical research that most physicians simply don't have time to explain during a 15-minute appointment. I want to tell you about Helen, 73 years old, a retired librarian from Portland, Oregon. Helen went to bed one Tuesday evening after taking her usual medications. She woke up at 2 in the morning feeling dizzy, tried to walk to the bathroom, fell, fractured her hip, and spent the next 6 months in rehabilitation. The medication that caused her fall? It's on the list I'm sharing with you today. And here's what makes this truly heartbreaking. Her doctor never once explained the specific age-related risks. Helen trusted the prescription. She had no idea that after 70, her body processes that medication completely differently than it did at 50. My name is Dr. Michael Harrison. I'm a board-certified interventional cardiologist. I've spent over 28 years treating cardiovascular disease, and I've served on the medical advisory board at Johns Hopkins Hospital, where I completed my fellowship in advanced heart failure. I've seen thousands of seniors come through my practice, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that medication management is one of the most overlooked dangers facing adults in their 60s, 70s, and beyond. I've spent the last 3 decades studying how medications interact with the aging cardiovascular system at the cellular level, and what I've learned has fundamentally changed how I care for my own parents and how I advise my patients over 60. Before we go any further, I need you to understand something critical. A landmark study published by researchers at Harvard Medical School and replicated at Stanford University followed over 62,000 adults aged 65 and older for a period of 11 years. What they discovered was extraordinary and deeply concerning. The study found that certain commonly prescribed medications increase the risk of serious adverse events, including falls resulting in hip fracture, by up to 48% in adults over 70 compared to younger adults taking the same medications. The same drugs that help younger people can silently harm aging bodies because of fundamental changes in how your kidneys filter, how your liver metabolizes, and how your brain responds to chemical compounds after the age of 65. Here's what most doctors won't tell you, not because they're hiding anything, but because pharmaceutical training focuses on prescribing, not deprescribing. After 70, your kidney function declines by approximately 30 to 40% compared to younger adults. Your liver's ability to break down medications slows significantly. Your brain becomes more sensitive to drugs that cross the blood-brain barrier, and your body's total water content decreases while fat content increases, meaning medications store differently in your tissues and stay in your system far longer than they should. Today, I'm going to break down the 4 most dangerous medication categories that I would never, and I mean never, let my own parents take after the age of 70. These are ranked from concerning to critical. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to ask your doctor tomorrow morning, and you'll understand why getting off certain medications might be the most important health decision you make this year. Before we dive in, I want to ask you something personally. Leave a comment below telling me your age and how many prescription medications you currently take. I read every single comment on this channel, and your answers genuinely shape what I cover next. This conversation belongs to all of us. Coming in at number 4, and this category shocks almost everyone I tell it to, we are talking about first-generation antihistamines. These are medications like diphenhydramine, which you know as Benadryl, and medications combined with sleep aids like Tylenol PM or Advil PM. You probably have these sitting in your medicine cabinet right now. You might take them for allergies, for itching, or to help you sleep. And if you're over 65, they are quietly damaging your brain every single time you take them. Let me explain what happens at the cellular level. First-generation antihistamines work by blocking histamine receptors throughout your entire body, including deep inside your brain. In younger people, the body clears these drugs relatively quickly, but after 65, your blood-brain barrier becomes more permeable. This means more of the drug enters your brain tissue and stays there longer because your liver and kidneys can't eliminate it efficiently. Once inside the brain, these medications block not just histamine but also acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter absolutely critical for memory formation, attention, and cognitive processing. A comprehensive study from the University of Washington School of Medicine tracked over 3,000 adults aged 65 and older for more than 7 years. The researchers found that regular use of anticholinergic medications like diphenhydramine was associated with a 54% increased risk of developing dementia compared to those who didn't use these drugs. 54%. That's not a small increase. That's more than half again as likely to lose your memory, your independence, your identity. I want to tell you about Robert, 68 years old, a retired electrician from Memphis, Tennessee. Robert came to my office complaining about memory problems. He was forgetting appointments, struggling to follow conversations, and his wife noticed he was repeating himself constantly. When I reviewed his medication list, he was taking diphenhydramine every single night to help him sleep. He'd been doing this for 3 years. His cognitive testing showed concerning deficits. We stopped the diphenhydramine immediately and switched him to safer sleep strategies I'll discuss in a moment. Within 90 days, his wife called my office in tears. Robert's memory had improved dramatically. His fog had lifted. He told me he felt like himself again for the first time in years. Here's what you need to do if you're currently taking these medications. First, talk to your doctor about alternatives. For allergies, second-generation antihistamines like loratadine or cetirizine don't cross the blood-brain barrier significantly and are far safer for aging brains. For sleep, address the root cause instead of masking it with sedating drugs. Most sleep problems in seniors are caused by poor sleep hygiene, untreated sleep apnea, medication side effects, or lack of daytime activity. Cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia is more effective than any sleeping pill and has 0 side effects. Here's a synergy tip that compounds the protective effect. If you improve your sleep naturally, pair it with morning sunlight exposure within 30 minutes of waking. Researchers at Northwestern University found that morning light exposure helps reset your circadian rhythm and improves nighttime sleep quality by up to 32% in adults over 65. This works by signaling to your brain's master clock that it's time to be alert, which then triggers proper melatonin release 12 to 14 hours later. Number 4 is dangerous, but number 3 is where the risks become truly serious. Now we arrive at number 3, and this medication category is prescribed to millions of seniors every single day. We're talking about benzodiazepines. These include medications like alprazolam, which you know as Xanax, lorazepam known as Ativan, diazepam known as Valium, and clonazepam known as Klonopin. These drugs are prescribed for anxiety, for sleep, sometimes for muscle spasms, and in people over 70, they are catastrophically dangerous. Benzodiazepines work by enhancing the effect of a neurotransmitter called GABA, which slows down brain activity. That's why they reduce anxiety and promote sleep. But here's what happens in an aging brain. After 65, your brain has fewer GABA receptors, and the ones you have become more sensitive. Your body also clears these medications far more slowly. A dose that would be eliminated from a 40-year-old system in 8 hours might stay active in a 75-year-old system for 36 hours or longer. This creates a phenomenon doctors call drug accumulation. Every time you take your dose, some of the previous dose is still circulating in your bloodstream and brain tissue. Over days and weeks, the medication builds up, creating effects far stronger than your doctor intended. You become sedated, your reflexes slow, your balance deteriorates, and your fall risk skyrockets. The research is absolutely clear and frankly terrifying. A study published in JAMA Internal Medicine analyzing data from over 32,000 seniors found that benzodiazepine use increased fall risk by 79%. Falls leading to hip fractures increased by 66%. And here's the most sobering statistic. Among seniors who fracture their hip, approximately 20% die within 1 year, and 50% never regain their previous level of independence. Let me tell you about Margaret, 76 years old, from Tucson, Arizona. Margaret had been taking lorazepam for anxiety for over a decade. She came to see me after her third fall in 6 months. When we reviewed her medication history, the pattern was obvious. Every fall happened within hours of taking her anxiety medication. Her balance testing showed significant impairment. We began a careful, gradual tapering process, reducing her dose by 10% every 2 weeks under close medical supervision. You cannot stop benzodiazepines suddenly after long-term use because withdrawal can be dangerous. But within 5 months, Margaret was completely off the medication. She started using cognitive behavioral techniques for anxiety management instead. At her 6-month follow-up, she hadn't fallen once. She was walking confidently again. She told me she felt sharper and more present than she had in years. If you're currently taking a benzodiazepine, I need you to hear this carefully. Do not stop suddenly. Abrupt discontinuation can cause seizures, severe anxiety, even dangerous blood pressure spikes. But do talk to your doctor about a gradual tapering plan. The American Geriatric Society has explicitly listed benzodiazepines as potentially inappropriate medications for older adults. There are safer alternatives for anxiety, including certain antidepressants, buspirone, or non-pharmacological approaches like therapy, meditation, and exercise that address the root cause rather than sedating the symptom. Here's your synergy tip for this one. If you're working with your doctor to taper off benzodiazepines, support your nervous system with magnesium-rich foods. Research from the University of Vermont found that magnesium plays a critical role in GABA receptor function and helps regulate the stress response system. Adults over 70 who maintain optimal magnesium levels through food sources like pumpkin seeds, dark leafy greens, and black beans show significantly lower anxiety markers and better stress resilience. Aim for magnesium from whole foods rather than supplements, as absorption is far superior and there's no risk of the loose stools that high-dose magnesium supplements can cause. And now we move to number 2, the medication category I specifically warned about at the beginning of this video, and the one that caused Helen's devastating fall. Number 2 on this list is proton pump inhibitors, or PPIs. These are medications like omeprazole, which you might know as Prilosec, esomeprazole known as Nexium, lansoprazole known as Prevacid, and pantoprazole known as Protonix. These drugs are prescribed for acid reflux, heartburn, and ulcers. And they are among the most overprescribed, overused medications in modern medicine, especially in older adults. If you've been taking a PPI for more than 8 weeks, you need to pay very close attention to what I'm about to tell you. PPIs work by shutting down the acid-producing pumps in your stomach lining. They reduce stomach acid production by up to 90%. In the short term, for severe ulcers or erosive esophagitis, they can be genuinely helpful. But here's what most doctors don't explain. After the age of 65, you need stomach acid for critical functions that have nothing to do with digestion. Stomach acid is required for absorbing vitamin B12, calcium, magnesium, and iron. It's your first line of defense against harmful bacteria entering your digestive system, and when you suppress it chronically with PPIs, you create cascading problems throughout your entire body. A landmark study from Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis followed over 73,000 veterans taking PPIs long-term. The research, published in the British Medical Journal, found that PPI use was associated with a 44% increased risk of dementia, a 58% increased risk of chronic kidney disease, and a 25% increased risk of death from any cause. The researchers calculated that for every 500 people taking PPIs for 1 year, there would be 4 additional deaths that wouldn't have occurred if they hadn't been on the medication. But here's what I see most often in my practice: the bone fractures. PPIs impair calcium absorption so significantly that long-term use increases hip fracture risk by 35% in women over 65 and 48% in men over 70. Your bones become porous and fragile because you literally cannot extract the calcium from your food, while these drugs are suppressing your stomach acid. Dorothy, 78 years old from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, came to my office after being hospitalized for a compression fracture in her spine. She'd simply bent over to pick up her grandchild's toy and felt something crack in her back. Her bone density scan showed severe osteoporosis. When I reviewed her medications, she'd been taking omeprazole daily for 11 years. 11 years. Her doctor had prescribed it for mild heartburn and never suggested stopping. We discontinued the PPI and addressed her reflux through dietary changes, smaller meals, avoiding trigger foods, elevating the head of her bed, and losing 15 pounds. Within 3 months, her reflux was completely controlled without medication. We started her on calcium and vitamin D supplementation with weight-bearing exercise. Her bone density is improving. She's off the PPI permanently. Here's what you need to understand if you're on a PPI. Most people don't need them long-term. The American Gastroenterological Association states that PPIs should be used at the lowest effective dose for the shortest duration necessary. For most reflux, lifestyle modifications work as well or better than medication. Lose excess weight if needed. Avoid eating within 3 hours of bedtime. Eliminate trigger foods like caffeine, chocolate, alcohol, and high-fat meals. Elevate the head of your bed 6 inches. If you've been on a PPI for months or years and try to stop, you'll likely experience rebound acid hypersecretion. This is where your stomach, in response to months of acid suppression, suddenly overproduces acid when the drug is stopped. This feels like your reflux is worse than ever, and most people immediately restart the PPI thinking they can't live without it. But this rebound is temporary. It typically lasts 1 to 2 weeks. If you taper the PPI gradually, switching to every other day dosing for 2 weeks, then twice weekly, then stopping completely, you can avoid most of the rebound effect. Here's your synergy tip. While you're tapering off PPIs, support your digestive system with ginger. A study from the European Journal of Gastroenterology found that ginger accelerates gastric emptying, which means food leaves your stomach faster, reducing the opportunity for acid to reflux into your esophagus. Adults who consumed 1 gram of ginger daily showed 43% faster gastric emptying compared to placebo. You can get this through fresh ginger tea, grated ginger in cooking, or ginger supplements. Pair this with smaller, more frequent meals, and you create a digestive environment where reflux becomes much less likely. Number 2 is serious, but number 1 is the medication category that keeps me up at night worrying about my own parents and every senior in my practice. And now we arrive at number 1, the single most dangerous medication category for adults over 70 and the one that causes more preventable deaths in seniors than almost any other drug class. We are talking about non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, or NSAIDs. These include ibuprofen, which you know as Advil or Motrin, naproxen known as Aleve, and prescription NSAIDs like meloxicam, diclofenac, and celecoxib. You might take these for arthritis pain, back pain, headaches, or general aches. And if you're over 70 and taking these regularly, you are playing Russian roulette with your cardiovascular system and your kidneys. Let me explain the mechanisms that make NSAIDs so catastrophically dangerous in aging bodies. NSAIDs work by blocking enzymes called KOX1 and KOX2, which produce prostaglandins that cause inflammation and pain. But here's what pharmaceutical companies don't emphasize in their marketing. Those same prostaglandins protect your stomach lining, regulate blood flow to your kidneys, and help prevent blood clots. When you block them with NSAIDs, you damage all 3 systems simultaneously. After the age of 70, your kidneys are already functioning at reduced capacity. Remember, you've lost 30 to 40% of kidney filtration efficiency efficiency compared to your younger years. NSAIDs reduce blood flow to the kidneys even further by blocking the prostaglandins that keep renal arteries dilated. Take NSAIDs regularly, and you can tip yourself into chronic kidney disease or acute kidney failure that requires dialysis. The cardiovascular risks are even more immediate and deadly. A comprehensive analysis published in the British Medical Journal reviewing data from over 9 million patients found that NSAID use increased heart attack risk by 48% and stroke risk by 36% in adults over 65. The risk begins within the first week of use and increases with higher doses and longer duration. Naproxen appears slightly safer than ibuprofen, but all NSAIDs carry significant cardiovascular risk in older adults. And then there's the bleeding risk. NSAIDs damage the protective lining of your stomach and small intestine. In older adults whose stomach lining is already thinner and more fragile, this can cause ulcers that bleed silently. You might not feel pain. You might not notice anything wrong until you become severely anemic or pass black tarry stools indicating major gastrointestinal bleeding. The American Geriatric Society estimates that NSAID-related GI bleeding hospitalizes over 100,000 seniors annually in the United States alone. I want to tell you about Harold, 71 years old, from Columbus, Ohio. Harold was taking ibuprofen 600 milligrams 3 times daily for arthritis pain in his knees. He'd been doing this for 2 years on the recommendation of his primary care doctor. One morning, Harold woke up with severe chest pain. His wife called 911. By the time the ambulance arrived, Harold was in full cardiac arrest. The paramedics revived him, and he underwent emergency coronary angiography. He had suffered a massive heart attack. His cardiologist specifically noted in the chart that chronic NSAID use was likely a significant contributing factor given Harold's other risk factors. Harold survived, but his heart function is permanently reduced. He's on 5 cardiac medications now. He wishes desperately that someone had warned him that the pills he was taking for knee pain could stop his heart. If you're taking NSAIDs regularly for chronic pain, there are far safer alternatives. Acetaminophen, known as Tylenol, doesn't carry the cardiovascular or kidney risks that NSAIDs do, though you must stay below 4,000 milligrams daily and be cautious if you have liver disease. Topical NSAIDs like diclofenac gel provide local pain relief without systemic absorption and are dramatically safer than oral NSAIDs. Physical therapy, weight loss if you're carrying extra pounds, low-impact exercise like swimming or cycling, and heat therapy can all reduce chronic pain without any medication. Here's your critical synergy tip for pain management. If you're coming off NSAIDs for arthritis, incorporate tart cherry juice into your daily routine. Research from Oregon Health and Science University found that tart cherry juice contains powerful anti-inflammatory compounds called anthocyanins that reduce pain and inflammation through completely different pathways than NSAIDs. Adults with osteoarthritis who consumed 8 ounces of tart cherry juice daily for 3 weeks showed pain reduction comparable to low-dose ibuprofen without any of the cardiovascular, kidney, or stomach risks. Pair this with turmeric, which contains curcumin that blocks inflammatory pathways, and you create a natural anti-inflammatory protocol that's safe for long-term use. Let me pause here and speak directly to you for a moment. If this information is opening your eyes the way it has opened the eyes of thousands of people in this community, please take 1 second and hit that like button. And if you're not yet subscribed, I invite you to join us. I publish evidence-based medical content specifically for people in their 60s, 70s, and beyond every single week, and it is completely free. Subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss a video that could change your life or the life of someone you love. Now let me bring this all together for you, because understanding these 4 medication categories is only the beginning. The real question is, what do you do with this information tomorrow morning? First, I want to be absolutely clear about something. I am not telling you to stop your medications. I am not your doctor. I don't know your specific medical history, your conditions, or why your doctor prescribed what you're taking. What I am telling you is that you deserve to have an informed conversation with your physician about the age-specific risks of every medication you're taking. You deserve to ask whether you still need medications you've been taking for years. You deserve to explore safer alternatives. Here's how to have that conversation. Make a list of every medication you take, including over-the-counter drugs and supplements. Write down how long you've been taking each one and why it was originally prescribed. Bring this list to your doctor and ask 3 specific questions. First, do I still need this medication given my current health status? Second, are there safer alternatives appropriate for someone my age? Third, what would happen if we tried stopping this medication or reducing the dose? Most doctors will respect these questions if you approach the conversation as a partnership rather than a confrontation. Say something like, I've been reading about medication risks in older adults, and I want to make sure we're using the safest possible approach for someone my age. Can we review my list together? Any good physician will welcome this conversation. If your doctor is dismissive or refuses to discuss alternatives, that might be a sign you need a different doctor who takes your concerns seriously. The second thing you need to understand is that deprescribing takes time and medical supervision. You cannot stop most medications suddenly without risk. Benzodiazepines require gradual tapering. PPIs need slow dose reduction to avoid rebound. Even stopping antihistamines abruptly can cause temporary insomnia while your brain readjusts. Work with your doctor to create a safe deprescribing plan that addresses the underlying reasons you needed the medications in the first place. Third, focus on the root causes instead of just suppressing symptoms. If you're taking sleep medications, address sleep hygiene, undiagnosed sleep apnea, and daytime activity levels. If you're taking PPIs for reflux, lose weight, modify your diet, and elevate your bed. If you're taking NSAIDs for arthritis, work on weight management, physical therapy, and alternative pain control strategies. Medications can be helpful tools, but they should never be the only tool in your toolbox. I want to speak to you directly for a moment about something deeper than medications. If you are in your 60s or 70s, you may sometimes feel that the window for meaningful health change has closed, that the damage is done, the genetics are set, the trajectory is fixed. I want you to hear this clearly. The research says otherwise. It is never, and I mean never, too late to give your body better information through safer medication management. Your kidneys, even at 75, even at 80, can function better when you remove medications that harm them. Your brain can think more clearly when you stop drugs that fog your cognition. Your bones can strengthen when you eliminate medications that rob you of calcium. You deserve to have this information. You deserve to live without unnecessary pharmaceutical burden. The goal here is not just longer life. It is more vital life, more independent life, more mornings where you wake up feeling capable and clear and ready for whatever the day brings. The difference between a 78-year-old who lives independently with sharp thinking and strong bones and one who struggles with falls, memory loss, and medication side effects often comes down to decisions exactly like the ones we've discussed today. These 4 medication categories, first-generation antihistamines that cloud your thinking, benzodiazepines that steal your balance, PPIs that weaken your bones, and NSAIDs that threaten your heart and kidneys, represent some of the most preventable harm in modern medicine. They're prescribed with good intentions, but they're continued long past the point where benefits outweigh risks. And you, right now, have the power to change that conversation with your doctor. If this video helped you today, please subscribe right now. It costs you nothing, and it means the world to this channel and to the community we're building here together. Share this video with someone you love, a parent, a sibling, a friend who's taking multiple medications. You could be giving them information that saves their life, or prevents a devastating fall or heart attack they don't even know is coming. Leave me a comment right now telling me which of these 4 medication categories you're currently taking and how long you've been on it. Tell me your age. This conversation belongs to you, and I will be right here reading what you write and using your experiences to shape future content that serves you better. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. Your health is not behind you. It is waiting for you. One informed decision at a time. I'm Dr. Michael Harrison, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourself. You are worth it.